I'm a stroke survivor. I lost the entire use of my left hand side and I battled hardcore opioid addiction. And science is about to tell me free will might be an illusion. Brothers and sisters, we need to talk about this. Because nobody understands the line between choice and compulsion better than somebody who has had to how to relearn how to exist in their own body.
First off, philosophy is a confession.
Philosophy is a confession. Go love somebody that you don't like. Hey, what's happening, knowledge seekers? Thanks for clicking on the link. WTJ Knowledge Drops back with a new reaction series for you guys. More on that in a second, though. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. If you are a returning knowledge nomad, as usual, we don't have the time for me to express my gratitude for your support. If you are new, hello. My name is Wesley Travis Johnson. This is my channel, WTJ Knowledge Drops, where spirituality meets science. And I try to blend Eastern and Western spirituality, sprinkle in a little bit of hard-learned life lessons, and we just call it philosophy. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please consider subscribing, becoming a knowledge nomad. If you do, remember to hit the bell with all notifications so you can stay in the loop. Like I said, this is a brand new series. I've been spirituality from the jump for the first year. I think the second year I'm going to hit science, and StarTalk is the next series up, episode 1. This specifically is an episode where two astrophysicists actually debate free will. Now I know what you're thinking. Wesley, what does astrophysics have to do with spirituality and recovery? Brothers and sisters, everything. Because if the universe is deterministic, if our choices are just physics playing out, that rewrites how we understand addiction, moral responsibility, consciousness, and the soul. So strap in, because one's going to shake your foundation. Alright, episode 1 from StarTalk. Of course, it's Neil deGrasse Tyson's channel. Shout out to Neil deGrasse Tyson. Don't copyright me, bro. We're all just trying to learn and have a little fun. But this features two astrophysicists, and they go back and forth on one of the oldest questions in philosophy. Do human beings actually have free will? Now, this just isn't a debate for me. It's personal. Let me explain why, and then we're going to jump right into the reaction. Alright, here's why this hits different for me than most people watching a science video. I'm a stroke survivor. No use of my left side at all. I've walked through opioid addiction and benzo addiction, actually. So I know both versions, what it means to when your body doesn't cooperate with your will. When you want to move your arm and it won't move, is that a failure of free will? When addiction pulls you back and your mind says no, but your body says yes, is that failure of character, or is it just physics? Just biology? Just neurons firing the way they were conditioned to fire? That's not an academic question for me. That's my life. Let's get into it, guys. Alright, here's the episode. Two astrophysicists, one question. Does free will exist? Watch my face, because I genuinely don't know where I land on this yet. Let's go. Alright, this is a first time reaction to this StarTalk video, but I'm obviously very familiar with StarTalk. I'm a huge Neil deGrasse Tyson fan, and Chuck Nice as well, actually. So, shut up, Wes. Let's get right into it.
Charles, I want to compare notes.
Okay.
On free will.
Oh, one of my favorite things
Isn't
to
it?
about.
Free will. StarTalk episode 1 reaction series. Hope you're stoked. I am.
Here's my take. It is true that at some level of resolution that we can observe, causality is absolutely true. Given these initial conditions, this is what will happen afterwards.
That's the physicist in you
That's the
speaking.
physicist in you speaking. So
exactly.
if you take it to its logical conclusion, then there is no free will because everything is predetermined by things that
Everything has an antecedent.
whether you know it or not, something is causing it to happen.
Something precipitated the thing that caused the thing that made
it's
that
always
happen.
going to happen. But there is also stochastic uncertainty in the universe. It's built in. There's randomness. There's unpredictability. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are gonna have to watch me because I can already tell this reaction series may cause another aneurysm rupture. My brain is already having trouble putting my head around this. Shut up, Wes.
And so you have to ask, I think, if you're a physicist, what level of chaos actually affects you to the extent that you could actually make an instantaneous decision based on other stuff that's not necessarily in your past experiences or what you have just seen in your current environment. Right?
But wouldn't all those past experiences and your current environment, despite the fact that if you're introducing an element of chaos so that you've never experienced this ever before, your experiences that you have had would then inform your decision about the thing that you've never experienced.
Your inform is the word.
Oh.
Is it
Rather
inform
than
or dictate?
predicate. Right.
Right. Or require. Right. That's the thing there. Yeah. Let's say you're in a room with a whole bunch of audience members. You tell a joke.
Right.
It falls flat. In that moment, you have many things you could do to turn it into a laugh point.
True.
Right? You hear silence and you'd be like, oh, that was good. And then everyone laughs. Or, so you make some
Or
sort
is
of
this
comment.
mic on? That's
right.
the old one.
Right.
What do you do? Do you have the freedom to choose one of several choices that you had designed from your past, that you prepared to deal with that eventuality? Or is the choice made for you already?
But if he was less experienced, he might not dig out of that hole as effectively or efficiently.
Exactly.
But if you've been in 100 cases where you had a joke bomb, you have data on how to pull out of it.
Exactly.
So statistically, you have a chance of getting people
And it
to
happens
smile.
instantaneously.
Right
You
in
don't
the
even
moment.
realize that it's happening.
It's in the moment.
So it's in the moment. Right.
Did you have free will to not?
See, that's right. So now that would be interesting because here you are in a place where your instinct, your training, and
Your
your
10,000
desire,
10,000 hours, whatever it is.
will, as a reflex, cause you to say this, this, and this, and then people go, "Wow, that was great! Look how he turned it around."
So, Charles, can I say in that comment
Yeah.
that he preloaded his neurosynapses so that in that moment, they all tripped.
right,
They tripped, meaning triggered,
That's right.
to go to the solution to that problem.
right.
The same is true
But
for,
then I wouldn't have free will at that point.
That's
It
what I'm
would just
saying.
be a response. What I would have is a response to a
right.
situation, not
Yes.
necessarily. I wasn't really choosing that.
It chose it for you.
It chose it for me.
you have 5 choices, and then your system chooses one of the 5 or
In that moment.
In that moment, right? And so in that moment, you are not exercising free will. Did you set it up though with free will in the past so that you could react this way deterministically, but you actually were in control of the circumstance, right? Here's another physical example of that. A football player is trying to sack a quarterback.
Go
The
Chiefs.
quarterback jukes left. The person trying to sack the QB doesn't have enough time to think about whether to move left or right or up or down. It has to react based on years of training and practice and experience. So in that moment, that action is not free. But in the setting up of that moment, if it was free enough, does that constitute free will? From a physics perspective, it might not. Then again, from a psychological point of view or from a biological point of view, it might.
Wait, what good are you if you're not landing on one side or the other? I don't need you to say, it could be this, it could be that. And I'm right both ways.
Yeah.
Whichever the actual answer is, I was right.
Yeah. Well, he's saying I don't really have the free will to make that determination. I'm going to be right or wrong.
Let's just ask an opinion. In my opinion, I would like to have free will exist in this universe, even though philosophically it can be argued that it does not exist.
Are you happy with a world where you perceive free will even if it isn't?
Maybe. This has to do with the movie Arrival, right, starring Amy Adams.
Yes.
Where if you know how your future is going to turn out, would you like to live your life anyway? Right? And the answer is yes, I would. But I still would like to think that the future is not yet predetermined.
I'm not a big movie guy, especially if it's fiction. I can't do fiction books, I can't do fiction movies, I can't do fiction television shows. Serious acting makes me laugh because I don't see it as the person that they're trying to be. I see it as the actor acting, and it makes me laugh. So I do nonfiction. I gotta be laughing, loving, learning, or I'm out. The 3 L's: laughing, loving, learning. So I'll do a comedy. I can do a comedy if it's funny, but definitely not any fiction. Anyways, this is where Eastern philosophy has already figured it out. Vedanta doesn't say you have free will. You have the ability to expand your awareness. And that awareness is what increases your capacity to respond instead of react. That's not the same as choose freely. That's huge, you guys.
No, but I know what, it's different. I'm not saying it's predetermined and you know it. I'm saying, would you still be happy with life if some alien said, look, dude, your life is predetermined, there's nothing you can do about it. Keep on believing you have free will. And then they go back to their planet.
You're a puppet on a string.
A puppet on a string from a free will puppet.
You're a free will puppet on a string.
What I would say in that case is that I would hope that the knowledge that I have that puppet on the string circumstance allows me to circumvent it. I can find a way. If it's fate, right?
If your experience and knowledge travels up the strings to the person controlling it, that would be okay, I guess. But if not, then we're just puppets.
I've seen so many Greek mythology stories where you try to avoid the fate of whatever the gods have destined
the act
for
of
you.
avoiding it
is what makes it happen.
Like Oedipus, for example.
Oedipus
Right.
would be the most
Famous of those.
egregious
Yeah.
example. Yes.
Sorry.
So the bottom line is, yes, I would still be satisfied with trying to do something different because even the illusion of trying to do something different is in itself a form of free will. Physics-wise, though,
It's not.
that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Neil, if you had to right now decide that free will does exist or doesn't exist, what would you prefer?
My thinking over the recent years, because I didn't used to think about this at all, my thinking over recent years is leaning towards the absence of free will for practically everything we think and do in our lives.
Wow.
And I base that on the fact that over time, things that we have done as people in our species, at one time was you are totally to blame for that, or just something you did, or something we've learned, no, this person is more susceptible than you are to addiction.
Right.
There's a biochemistry there. This person cannot just be made the life of the party because they're on the autism spectrum. They don't control that in the way you might think they should.
He's
just
making
because
a
you're the
damn
life
good
of the
point,
party.
guys.
As you add up all of these things, let's go back to epilepsy, where before that was even a word, you were occupied by the devil. Did you do something bad? Or, well, you knew it was not, everyone knew you were not in control of it. But today, no one is saying, did you have the free will to not have an epileptic seizure? Of course not. Do you have the free will to not be depressed? The person who's ready to jump off the bridge, in that instant, do they have the free will to not jump off the bridge? I don't think so. And the more I add up and explore the human condition, I'm forced to conclude that the direction we are headed is that we are all products of an absence of free will. And as a result, society needs more compassion for people who do not otherwise fit in.
Yes.
See, I have the exact opposite position
Uh-oh.
in my
Dr.
own mind.
Dr.
I feel
Lou.
that it is because of the absence of free will that you see in most behavior, that it is that 1% of free will activity that moves us in the right direction, bends us toward compassion, takes the arc of history toward justice.
But going back to what Neil just said, there are people who actually suffer from personality disorders, that suffer from brain disorders, where they can't do what you just said. They can't express compassion.
Just,
they can't move
there
towards
was a day when no one even thought to analyze it that way, as a brain disorder.
Yeah, you were just an a-hole.
Yeah, exactly.
That was it. Like,
If they can't, you can. You can show that person compassion or understanding.
So
and therefore, free will as an entity exists.
Charles, you're drawing a line that I have seen be in constant motion over the decades and over the centuries. That line that you're saying, they don't have free will, but I do. I don't know that I can.
See, I have free will over some things and not over others.
Okay.
Someone can see me and say, that person needs help in this way and has the free will to help me. I see somebody else who needs this help and free will. Together, it is a network. It's not that any individual.
So you have to draw the line for every individual and even perhaps for society.
Okay.
Does the criminal who's born in poverty have free will to not be a criminal? If most of the people in
All right, let's pause it right here, because as a stroke survivor, I know what it feels like when your will and your body are at war. Rehabilitation is literally the process of rewiring those neural pathways in your brain. The process is called neuroplasticity, and it takes tons of repetition. But when I was in my rehab, I had to relearn how to swallow. I had to learn how to breathe. I had respiratory failure. I was on a breathing machine for a month in an induced coma. So I know what it feels like when your will and your body are at war. So if free will is limited by biology, neuroplasticity proves that you can reshape your brain. That's not determinism winning. That's consciousness fighting back through the mechanism. But I got to tell you, it takes tons and tons and tons of repetition. I didn't have the mental energy for it, so I still can't use my left arm. And I can walk, but I have to have a brace on my left leg, and I definitely am a fall risk. A strong gust of wind could blow me over. Shut up, Wes.
prison came in below the poverty line. So there's some sociological force operating there.
So
that where we are less susceptible to that force.
I think that's a great question, analogy. Let's say this. Say those folks who have been branded criminals by our society are incarcerated.
Yes.
We can then, who we're fortunate enough not to face those same circumstances, who are not incarcerated, can look at these incarcerated people and instead of saying we must keep them away from society, welcome them back.
So that's called restorative justice.
Yeah,
that's
and that's a free will example of the exercise of free will
of
society toward individuals who may not have had the options, had the life experience to recover from a
This is the money moment, guys, because this is what I've learned. Science weakening free will doesn't kill accountability. It kills shame. You can still be responsible for rebuilding yourself without hating yourself for how you feel. Okay? That's where spirituality comes in here. Not to judge, but to reconstruct. And honestly, humility is more important for your mental health than love is. And love is very important, so that should tell you how important humility is. All right, shut up, Wes.
bombed joke.
I saw an old movie where there's a guy who was a junkie.
Yeah.
Right? And he needed help. But they said, no, the cops came and arrested him because he was a junkie.
Right.
Today, you wouldn't do that.
Right.
You would say the person needs help.
They need, right.
Even if that person had robbed somebody, that person needs treatment.
Okay, he needs treatment and he needs help, but at the end of the day, the person has to make the decision. When you're in like an inpatient rehab facility, all is good until you walk out those front doors. And then the real war starts. It's not easy, guys. It's not easy. But I forgot my point. I'll remember it in a second.
And the people who cannot shake whatever it is that afflicts them tells me that free will cannot be as free as we think it is. Do you remember the shooter in the University of Texas at Austin?
I remember that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out Austin, Texas. Lived here my whole life. I did. I wasn't one of the losers that all moved here from California, trying to Californiaize Texas here. Nope, lifelong Texan, and I'm proud of it. Shut up, Wes.
There's a movie they made out of it called The Tower,
Yeah.
where he
Never
left a
seen
note
it.
saying, "I just want to kill people. Something must be wrong with my brain. Please, when I die, find out."
Look into this.
They looked, and there was a tumor putting pressure on a part of the. In fact, that's how we learn anything about how the brain works.
Wow.
When
And
you have
this
situations like this.
person had the free will
he
to
didn't
write
have the free
a
will.
note. He had the free will to write the note.
But
so he did not have the will to resist shooting. But that's the line that you were talking about is a partial one.
Why isn't that line always in motion as we learn more and more about how the mind
It
works?
is. It is.
Okay, so then maybe it's a line of convenience today, but tomorrow we're going to find out, oh my gosh, that person has no real free control over their behavior, over their personality, over their tendencies, over their treatment of others.
It's not a line of convenience. It is, in your words, a perimeter of ignorance. When Newton said we couldn't explain certain things,
Right.
God must have done it.
Of course.
That's a God of the gaps.
Of course.
That delineates what we don't know. The line you describe, I hope, is in fact that perimeter of ignorance which we slowly are moving toward and moving so that we do understand what the true nature of free will is.
So this is where people will push back. Most people are concerned not about the actions, but the consequences. So what they're thinking about is the punitive response to someone who does something wrong. And is a punitive response a deterrent for somebody doing something wrong or doing something wrong in the future?
Especially if they don't have the free will.
Right.
So there's the other side of this entire analysis is how does society interact with people who are being brought into the circle day by day. We're learning what we have control over and what we don't, biophysiologically, intellectually, emotionally.
Yes.
Why do people need anxiety meds? Do they have the freedom to not
They have
be
children.
anxious?
That is why.
They want drugs.
That is why I'm
You
telling
want
you,
extra dose?
I'm taking them every day, and I got 3 reasons that I take them.
All right, guys. Anxiety is just the awareness of your feelings and how your body is feeling. Everybody deals with it. It's ingrained in our DNA from survival. Everybody gets anxiety. There's ways to cope. You don't need medication. And honestly, the people that are getting the medication, they just want to get high. Those benzos are very, very addicting. Just to put it in perspective, I've been to rehab 7 times for opioids, mainly hydrocodone and oxys, but I have gone for benzos, Xanax bars as well. And that's what people take for anxiety, and they just want to get high. You can do it without it, guys. Shut up, Wes.
Every day.
Some kids need them because they have parents. I'm just saying.
Very nice. Very nice.
Okay, so
No, we don't give kids that. We give them Adderall. How does that make sense, guys?
Charles, if we're going to exit this conversation,
Yeah.
if we find a point of agreement, it's that this perimeter of ignorance, we recognize inside the perimeter there are forces operating against free will.
Yes.
Our physiology, our neurochemistry,
Yes.
and physics.
Yes.
That surely that perimeter may grow,
Yes.
but it's possible that there's a limit to how far it will grow,
Yes.
beyond which we have to admit the existence of free will.
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you that.
There
Very nice.
we are.
That's a great
Right.
job.
It doesn't have to be absolute in one direction or another.
It's a bit more fluid. Okay.
I'm okay
All right.
with that.
Yeah, I've choose the middle line too, guys. I think there's limited free will. But that lukewarm middle is where you want to be, baby. I know a lot of people are like, you got to choose the side. And my answer is no, you don't. I love everybody. You got to love the people that you don't like. Because if you don't, when you look in the mirror, you're not going to love yourself properly. All right, shut up. We're getting to the end here.
There is uncertainty in the universe. I embrace it.
I'll tell you this much. I've been married for 20 plus years. I do not have free will.
That's a good point right there.
Chuck and Charles, thanks for helping us with this explainer.
Awesome.
On the perspectives, let's call it, emergent perspectives on free will. Neil deGrasse Tyson for StarTalk, yet another explainer in the universe. Keep looking up.
All right, we're out of the reaction. Let me just tell you what happened in my brain. 4 things hit me hard. 1, free will may be limited by biology, environment, and conditioning, but awareness expands the gap between stimulus and response. And that gap, that's where recovery lives. Number 2, the Vedic tradition has been saying this for thousands of years, guys. Prakriti, nature runs on cause and effect, okay? Pure consciousness is the witness that can begin to transcend the mechanism. You don't choose freely from nothing, from anything. That was a double negative there. You train yourself towards greater freedom. 3, shame is the enemy of recovery because shame assumes total free will. Compassion is the engine of recovery because compassion acknowledges conditions while still holding space for growth. And lastly, number 4, and this one's personal. As a stroke survivor with no use of my left side, I had to rebuild 1 millimeter at a time. Nobody told me my arm was going to move again. Just choosing it took I can lift it, but that's about it. So, it took neuroplasticity, repetition, spiritual grounding, and refusing to let the diagnosis write that ending. That's what expanded free will looks like in real life, not switch, a practice. It is a practice and repetition, guys. Practice repetition should increase your ability to tap into your limited amount of free will. What do you guys think about free will? Let me know in the comments. I need the engagement. Represent where you're from if you'd like. I'm going to roll my sponsors here real quick. We got Printify, we got Maestro Bath, we got W Energy, we got vidIQ, we got Opus Clips, and we got ClickFunnels. And you can buy a t-shirt from my t-shirt store, Knowledge Nomads. And I also have philosophies. Check them out. All the links are in the description. The Cash App, Patreon. I'm probably forgetting something, but it's all there. Enjoy my little sponsored thing here. And I love you guys. I will see you in the next reaction. Probably going to be this StarTalk Reaction Series 2 next weekend. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you're going to stick around for the next one and become a knowledge nomad. All right. I love you guys. Go love somebody you don't like so you can love yourself properly. I'm out.